The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Hey everyone! Get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Welcome back, everyone, to what is sure to be a marathon session episode of The Angry Chicken. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. I'm here as always with the folks that are going to get me through today. Willie Dills, Gregory, and Jocelyn Carney. Jocelyn Carney! Damn it!
So close.
I was even talking to you before the show. I'm like, it's Carney, not Kearney. It's Carney, not Kearney. You're like, yes. Well, yes, no. Okay, cool.
Hey,
like writing 2018 on your checks. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's been 300 episodes of Moffat, so you're forgiven.
I'm
That
glad.
muscle memory.
Glad to know I'm absolved. As someone whose last name is never, ever correct when spoken by anyone other than myself. I am sensitive to this topic, but my God, guys, there's just so much to talk about today. It's going to be a real thick show. So before we get into it, I just made sure to thank awesome people. I wanted to thank everyone supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC before we get into the big news this week. If you like this show, if you like when sometimes we do 2, maybe 3-hour shows because there are a lot of news and you want to support it, the Patreon's the best way to do that. And to 3 of our more recent patrons, Yomi S, James R, and Davis B, thank you for the support. Now, let's just dive straight in with the latest in Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
Oh, no.
Jocelyn, do you want to introduce what the next year is?
No, not even a little bit. I'm so disappointed again. Although I will say with Yongwu and Broad gone, I feel like my chances of Year of the Unicorn are just...
Your window is gone.
Yeah, the window's gone, yeah. If it was going to happen, it would have happened years ago, so... Yeah, although I will say this Year of the Dragon, the little icon thing, when you look at the whole big wheel, the dragon right next to the dragon they're using looks so much cooler.
I would
I
go
don't know
with
why they went with the one they did. It's like a simplistic dragon head instead of a whole big majestic dragon. I don't understand.
I thought that was like a phoenix or something next to it.
Was it? Oh, I thought it was a dragon.
Or a griffin.
Yeah, I think it's another flying type animal, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite a dragon. By the way, I'm going to pat myself on the back for predicting a lot of news coming out of the thing, because this was more than I expected. I was thinking, yeah, expansion plus something, and then I was slapped in the face with a million changes to the game, and I'm super excited about this. This is actually a lot of stuff I didn't expect them to ever do. I was like, yeah, no, you guys can keep talking about that on Reddit all you want. That ain't happening, but no. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. And I'm like, there's one big omission that we knew was going to be omitted, and I'm not going to bring it up this entire episode. But all the things that are here, oh my God, it was just it was a new Christmas. It was another Blizzard Christmas for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. So yeah, it's the Year of the Dragon. We got 3 more expansions coming in 2019. They have been teased at somewhat with an image I did not prepare to show ahead of time because I thought it was in the post for this on the official website, and it is not. But
are you talking about the thing like we had last time?
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
the thing like you always have. We always have.
Which everybody pours over and tries to predict exactly what every expansion is going to be. And then nobody ever says Boomsday, and we go, what?
Yes.
Well, I think at this point we can get a general idea of what part of Warcraft they're pulling their theme from.
Yeah.
It's just we're never, ever, ever going to pinpoint exactly what the Hearthstone spin is going to be because those guys are crazy.
No.
The Boomsday one was the Nether Spite looking one, right? And everyone was like,
Netherstorm.
oh, yeah, definitely. It's going to be...
Which technically it was
Sure.
in Netherstorm.
That's where he chills.
Yeah, he's like, how are we supposed to know they were going to do Dr. Boom?
Right. We don't know how on the nose it's going to be.
Right.
We don't have a way of knowing that. But who boy, is there like a Dallarani, Kieran Torrey theme going on with this first expansion tease?
As soon as you see that
100%.
purple color, you're like, yeah, that's Kieran Tordaller and stuff, right? So there's people though who are predicting something about the sewers. I was saying maybe a Violet Hold thing last night on stream could be interesting.
It looks kind of Violet Holdy to me.
Yeah.
But then with the teaser trailer that came out today, they're talking about like assembling a team of like scoundrels or some, I can't remember her actual like language.
Actually this just came out, right? I haven't
this
had a chance to watch it and everything with sound. I'm just clicking through looking at the card images, but
yeah. So basically the story that she's telling, she flips over the first card and she's like, oh, this is, my crystal ball and I'm the first to answer the call or whatever. And then the second one, she talks about somebody who has gleaming gold and it's like the Cobalt candles and stuff. So it looks kind of like maybe somebody from Kobolds and Catacombs. And then we don't see the other 5. So it seems like, I think the actual Play Hearthstone tweet was, a team of plotters and schemers. So I think that's like where people maybe pointed to the whole underbelly idea.
Mhm.
But I think, Garrett, you pointed out ahead of time that because there's 5 cards that she flips over, you think this might be single player content?
Yeah, without getting too far ahead and ruining all of the deep dive into the single player content, which we're going to do a little bit later, the first round of single player content for this expansion has been detailed by fan sites, not by the actual Hearthstone post, saying that they got to play all of it in a couple of different summits that went down in different locations around the world. And that there were 5 chapters to this single player mode, and so I'm wondering if it has to do with the theme of those 5 chapters.
that makes a lot of sense because, why would there be 5 cards if it was about the expansions, right? So
unless the team of 5 are like the scoundrels of the Dalaran underbelly, and there are 5 neutral legendaries.
sure, these could be representing actual cards. Yeah. That's true.
The fortune teller was never actually a card, and though Togwaggle was a card, which is kind of what the imagery on the Kobold's card that she flips over kind of looks Togwaggly.
It's making noise. Why is it making noise? It was muted when I opened it.
Scared the crap out of me. But yeah, so the image of the card kind of looks Togwaggly.
You're talking about the one with the scales and the coins
the second one
on one
she
side
over.
and the
Yeah,
candles
it's
on the
coins
other.
and candles on either side of the scales. Yeah, so it looks Togwaggly because there's even a little crown at the bottom here. Yeah, you can see flipped over now on screen if you guys are watching. But so that image looks Togwaggly, but Togwaggle was already a card. So if you go with the fortune teller from Old Gods as the first card, I kind of went back to the Kobold's trailer and I was like, is there anything in here that didn't really end up being a card? And we have Sleepy Dragon that was a card, but there is a scene in the Kobold's trailer that has a 2-headed, not a single-headed dragon, but there's like a 2-headed dragon guarding gold with some candles in the foreground. And I'm like, maybe we're gonna get some sort of like red dragon or something. So
Awesome fun in the Easter eggs.
I don't know because it seems weird to me that they would like rotate Togwaggle out and then immediately bring him right back into the game again in whatever iteration. That just seems odd to me.
Yeah, it's also worth. My God, every time I restart the stupid trailer, it undoes the mute.
Because you're doing it on Twitter, you should do it on YouTube where it'll stay muted.
Well, there's no YouTube link because that's how Hearthstone does things, apparently.
Yeah.
But it's also worth pointing out the eyeball on the fortune teller's crystal ball card that she turns over. It matches the eyeball on the teaser image for the Year of the Dragon. That eyeball is stamped up at the very top, which makes me think maybe this does have more of a like whole year theme to it. Maybe it isn't just 5 themes for the 5 chapters of this first single player adventure.
It's like next to the actual text Year of the Dragon. So
yeah. So maybe she is our guide, our storyteller through the Year of the Dragon, because that was the other thing that they said, is that they wanted to try to craft more of a yearly story. So tie all 3 expansions together as opposed to, telling a unique story with each expansion. So maybe, excuse me, sorry, maybe the fortune teller will be our guide through the Year of the Dragon. I have heard a lot of people complain, like, Year of the Mammoth had nothing to do with mammoths, and Year of the Raven had nothing to do with ravens, and now you're saying Year of the Dragon. If it doesn't have anything to do with dragons, that's just lame, right? Because they want to do one big story, so
this could be amazing.
A dragon story. Yeah. So, and I think that the imagery is really cool too, if you think of it from like a dragon story perspective, because you've kind of got like, I'm not quite sure about the other 2, because like magic and arcane is the blue dragonflight, right? So I don't really know what the second one, like maybe we've got kind of like a blue dragonflight thing, and then maybe like the green dragonflight for the second one. The third one to me looks like the bronze dragonflight, which I think is really cool.
Well, I had heard people bringing up what's his face in Ulduar, the special boss. Where you go fight him and he's in
Algalon.
Like, space.
Algalon, yeah.
Algalon, because there's like all the kind of star stuff going on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell if it's like stars or if it's like Emerald Dreamy kind of stuff.
I feel like we say Emerald Dream every year because these portals always look vaguely ethereal, and I don't mean ethereal as in the race from Warcraft. I just mean it's just floaty, particle-y, glowy bits, right? So I don't know how much to read into that, because nothing else in the borders look Ulduar to me, like not even a little. That middle one is really throwing me for a loop. I don't know what to make of the middle teaser with this kind of brown and gold theme with this kind of teal, almost emerald looking accents.
Which is why I'm thinking like it does look emeraldy, which is why I think green dragonflight. But yeah, it is also kind of hard to tell. Like the bottom of these teaser images all look like card backs to me, and we've already got $1 on card back, and they look similar. But yeah, the other ones, like I'm not really sure what they would be, but I'm sure that there's more to be gained from the. I looked at this for literally 10 minutes before the show, so. But yeah, it very much looks like the top kind of looks like banners, and then the bottom kind of looks like card backs, and the stuff in the middle is vague at best. But if we're thinking dragons, then I'm thinking blue dragonflight, green dragonflight, bronze dragonflight, and I'm here for it. Yes, please.
Yeah. The far right looks just so on the nose orc to me that it's hard for me to think about anything else. If we're going with a dragon theme, maybe it's a Dragon Maw clan expansion.
I was going to say the orcs did enslave the red dragons, right? So maybe that's supposed to be more like fiery and orcs and red dragons, maybe. I don't know.
We're finally going to get to be able to make one minion mount another, which sounds dirty, but bear with me here. Dragon riders. Dragon, third and final expansion of 2019, it's the Dragon Maw flying experience, and you can make one minion ride a dragon minion and combine stats and do cool crap. How rad would that be? But no flying. I will never see flying in this game.
Basically like magnetic, but for dragons.
Shh. It's dragons, Jocelyn, not magnetic.
Yeah, the little circle in the middle looks exactly like that Dragon Soul orb thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. To me, I'm just I'm so off on every single one we've ever had before that I'm just at this point, I'm just yeah, just give it to me. I can sit here and do crap thing all day, but I'll be way off.
This is the fun part of the year, I feel. And maybe it's just because I'm such a lore nerd, but trying to pick out the little Easter eggs and hints that they give us, I love this time of the year.
I like being really wrong, and I also like being somewhat right. I liked last year when it was oh, damn, we got another storm right on, hit that nail on the head, but it was also Boomsday. Who the hell would have guessed that? So I was I took that as a win.
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, the setting. Yeah, but not what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because kobolds and catacombs, I didn't predict that.
Yeah.
Who guessed generic? And I don't say that I don't see that in a mean way, but who guessed generic D&D adventure? Literally no one.
Yeah.
And they even tricked us by showing us like a damn pirate. And we're like, it's a pirate expansion.
Yeah.
They're like, joke's on you. We were playing a lot of D&D in the office in the last year.
So we briefly spoke about this because we did get an announcement on the date of the World Championships. We already knew it a while back, but so are we all like, do you just think it's not coming out on the normal release schedule that we've had for this year? Because that would be, I would hope that it's not getting pushed back like crazy, where it's like, because then where do they go from there? It's just like it'll constantly keep falling farther and farther behind. I'm kind of hopeful that we are actually going to get this somewhere around early to mid-April.
I think we're totally on the same path. I mean, they've announced the standard year last year, Witchwood was announced on March 12th and released exactly a month later on April 12th. So we still have time to be on last year's timetable. In the past, it has happened earlier, but if you remember in the past, our card reveal seasons were excruciatingly long.
They were so long, yeah. But April 6th was when Mammoth started, right? And then Raven started the 12th. So they did.
Yeah, Journey to Angora was released on April 6th, but it was announced February 27th. We had from February 27th until April 6th of card reveals, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like they have learned from the past mistakes on. We don't need to make everyone go through that.
Yeah. I would like to put it out there, though, just hopefully to give anyone listening from Team 5 a sense of satisfaction from all the time we've spent complaining about card reveal season. It was so much easier to do a podcast about card reveals when it took so much more time. But
I still like the faster releases.
Because
every day, like
here's
2
the
weeks
thing.
tops, perfect.
We skipped a lot of cards this last time because they're just a lot of arena cards, and it was perfect. Like we don't need to talk about every single vanilla thing, or like a 7-mana 5/9. We don't got to talk about that on this show.
Yeah.
That's just you'll pick it in arena. That's all it does.
I agree. I liked how we did it last time.
But in terms of actually like the schedule of the World Championship, it is really interesting because basically what's going to happen is either they're going to delay the actual standard rotation until after that happens. So we might actually be looking at an expansion release and a standard rotation at the beginning of May instead of the beginning of April, or they rotate it early and then we end up with people for like who have qualified through Year of the Raven playing with Year of the Dragon cards in their championship, which seems like, and we're not going to go down the whole road of should they do balance patches or rotations or expansions or whatever right before playoffs and championships. That's a whole other thing, but just the idea that like it's supposed to be the championship for the Year of the Raven and like we're not even going to have those cards in the championship seems very odd to me. So
it's odd, but it's also, I don't know, I find it acceptable because it would be interesting to watch these pro players at this level play with the new cards. It's like, it's actually kind of cool, but also, you're right. It's like, it's weird, but it's an opportunity for the rest of us to kind of go, hey, what have they figured out? Because there's always that period of time at the beginning where it's just the Wild West and nobody really knows. And it's all the meta set by streamers and stuff, and not necessarily pro players. So it might be an interesting opportunity. I don't know. I won't be mad at it, but it is probably better not to do it that way.
It's just odd, right? Like, I mean, I just wish that their esports was like lined up a little bit better with the rest of the game, I guess. I don't know. Like, because Solitaire in the chat room saying, I don't think esports should impact the wider game. And I do agree with that to some extent. I guess I wish the Hearthstone team had planned a little bit better so that this wasn't even a talking point. Like,
I mean, I think it shouldn't impact the game, but the game should impact the esport. Like, why don't you build the esport around the natural release of the game?
Yes,
they need to tie in their dates with what the game is doing because, I don't want them to delay a rotation.
Yeah,
when there's new cards out there, I'm not gonna I'm gonna be like, hello, no, I want to play with the new cards, please.
Yeah, what they're probably thinking is that it's promotional, it's more hype, like people or viewers maybe don't want to watch the same sort of decks. They don't want more odd, even crap. Like they want to move forward and see all the new stuff. Like that totally makes sense from an interest in a viewership and a marketing perspective. But from like a competitive world championship, this is the summary of the year that we just had. To me, it makes more sense to play with the cards that were the Year of the Raven cards. So I mean, it is what it is, but I just think
we're still waiting on more esports
really
news, right?
Yeah, we're still waiting on all their freaking
We
esports
still don't even
news,
know how
so.
it's gonna play out. So
Yeah.
whatever. More on that later. Before we get into Hall of Fame rotations, we want to thank our sponsor today, Robinhood, for sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You should go to angrychicken.robinhood.com. And I'll tell you why in just a second. If you're not familiar with Robinhood, it is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. And you should know, while other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, Robinhood doesn't charge any commission fees. So you can trade stocks and keep all your profits. Plus, there's no account minimum deposit needed to get started. You can start investing at any level. The simple, intuitive design of Robinhood makes investing easy for newcomers and experts alike. I can attest to this. I love their UI. You can also view easy-to-understand charts and market data and place a trade in just 4 taps on your phone. So check it out. You can also view stock collections, such as, 100 most popular. So with Robinhood, you can learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio, discover new stocks, track your favorite companies, and get custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. On top of all of this, Robinhood is giving listeners of The Angry Chicken a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. You can sign up over at angrychicken.robinhood.com. Go get that free stock. Dills, I know you were talking about how you were buying up Blizzard stock recently. I'm assuming you're using your Robinhood app?
I did, yeah. And I actually was talking to a buddy who's a day trader, and he was like, oh, yeah, I love the fact that these kind of things exist now. That's like what he does. It's just, he lost a job and then just started day trading. And he was like, oh, yeah, I use stuff like Robinhood all the time. And I was like, oh, they sponsor my show, man. You should go get yourself a free stock.
Oh, that's great. I love when that happens. So go check it out. Get your free stock at angrychicken.robinhood.com. We thank them for their support. Now let's talk about the Hall of Fame rotations, because that's the first thing that pops into my mind when I think of the standard rotation. I'm like, what's going away besides 3 expansions that are obvious and we know is happening? And it turns out more things than I thought. But let's start with the maybe not as surprising, although some of these I would still categorize as surprising cards going into the Hall of Fame. This means they're heading to Wild. First up is Druids. You're not going to have Naturalize in Standard come Year of the Dragon. Warlocks are losing Doomguard, and Paladins losing Divine Favor.
Yeah, these all make sense to me. They're all cards that I think are tough to design around. Obviously, things like Naturalize just make Togwaggle a viable thing. Something like Doomguard makes Cube a viable thing, and Divine Favor makes insane aggro Paladin decks a viable thing. So, it's like going to be hard forever and ever to print cool Togwaggly style cards or cool Cube kind of cards, knowing that there's classes out there that will be able to abuse these because of the existing cards they have that are going to be here forever, right? Mm-hmm. So.
Well, and I think
nip them in the bud.
You mentioned aggro with Paladin, and it does feel like that archetype has been so powerful and enabled in Paladin for so long because they're the only class that has one cheap card that basically lets them refill their hand again.
Aggro decks are not supposed to draw 7 cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lots and lots of classes have card draw, but no one has anything quite as efficient as Divine Favor. And yes, sometimes it's dead, but more often than not, you're getting like 5, 6, 7 cards after totally emptying out your hand. And it just makes aggressive decks in Paladin way too powerful and, like you said, hard to design around this specific card. So as much as I was kind of like, oh, like that wasn't even really on my radar, I can see how that was restricting the class a lot into this, like just always having an aggressive variant that was viable.
Yeah, I mean, we essentially got what we is call over in Heroes of the Storm notes, dev notes. I mean, or dev comments. That's what they actually just write them as in whenever there's a balance update over on that game. We got dev comments for all 3 of these changes, and they were all pretty much in line with, hey, this doesn't really work towards what we want the identity of the class to be. We want Druids to kind of have a weakness in their hard removal, and Naturalize doesn't help them with that. We want Warlock to be around building a board and having these minion fights, and having a really powerful charge minion doesn't help with that. And then, as I said with Paladin, we're like, we're happy with how aggressive they are. They just shouldn't have the best card draw in the game.
Yeah, it's to me, it's one of those things that just aggressive decks in the history of card games, when it like that's the drawback is that they run out of resources and it's towing that line, right? It's how do you get the most out of every resource and maximize the damage you deal with each card. And then it's like
Well, yeah,
paladins
that's where
can
all
just
your
literally
decisions
throw
kinda
all their
come
cards
from.
away because they just get a whole new grip of them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, you're walking the razor's edge, or I guess the Ashbringer's edge in this case.
yeah. It's like it's it's interesting because Odd Paladin, I always felt like there's a lot of them that ran the Divine Favor, and I always felt like it was kind of weird because Odd Paladin played a lot more often like a value deck where they just pushed that button a lot and didn't dump their hand, right? And I was always like, this card seems bizarre, man. But then you play like the wild Molten Giant Pirate aggro Paladin, and oh my god, Divine Favor was just disgusting in that deck. So that's still going to be.
I was going to say it'll continue to be disgusting because
if you like to do disgusting
wild
stuff, but that wild again. It's like I'm doing the grossest aggro things I could do, and the other guy's like, yeah, but I'm like big priest, and I just make 4/9 or 4/8 taunts that life steal and kill your guys, so it's fine.
And I go, I still have Reno. Enjoy 2 lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, no, these are all. I think these are all good. They're gonna make for more interesting cards for these types of archetypes going forward, and that's good. And I, for one, the one I'm most excited about is freaking Doomguard, man. Like, that was such a disgusting card for so long. Everybody always looked at that discard 2 cards, and I was just like, that is not a big drawback, man. 5 mana, 5/7 with charge. Holy crap!
Especially in
and then you
that class.
Throw cards like weapon that just pops them out of your hand for free every freaking turn, and it's like,
well, that's the thing, right? It's all the like res effects or the cheating it out, whether it's cheating it out of your deck or your hand. It's like it was too powerful a card without that discard 2. Like, it's supposed to cost you mana and it's supposed to get rid of resources, and that's why it's so powerful. But in the current iteration of Hearthstone, no one ever plays it from hand. So
yeah, it always felt fair when it was Zoo playing it, right?
Yes,
and then all of a sudden
exactly.
this Q block thing happened.
Well,
and we were
even
like, oh,
then,
no.
even with Zoo, because of the way it played, you would empty your hand, and then you would be using your hero power to draw through your deck, and more often than not, you were only discarding 1, if not any, cards at all when you played your Doomguard. It's just
But
that,
you
oh my
You'd
god.
also get those,
paying your mana cost,
Like,
though.
oh dear god, you had
also
to pay 5 mana.
five
Oof.
yeah.
Oh,
But
what
you'd
a-
also get with Zoo, you'd get like the double Doomguard hands and the weird you know what I mean? Or you'd discard your Leroy.
There was a
or
chance
like
for it, for sure.
It felt fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then in Q block, it felt so unfair. It was just
Yeah.
like, okay. And then, of course, Blood Reaver Gul'dan, just bringing them back, and then they
Yeah.
charge again. And yeah, it's just the whole thing was like, you can't make these cool demon cards if you have this, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate that they did this after Cube was in the meta for so long, because that's the kind of card that's so cool and then got so abused because of this one. So, I want to see more cards like Cube. I like Cube. I think it's a cool card. It makes really interesting, dynamic deck building options for you, like figuring out how to utilize it. But yeah, you don't want to give them these kind of tools as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any before we get into the surprise? Were there any omissions, like cards that didn't go into the Hall of Fame? You were surprised to see not in this list.
I mean,
think-
I'd still like to see Malagos probably, or
Same, that
I
was
think a
my
lot of
gut
people talk about
reaction.
Mind Blast, Acolyte of Pain, Gadgets and Auctioneer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Auctioneer is one that I think is kind of always on the radar. And the one that's kind of been on my radar a little bit is just Stone Tusk Spore. And I think that kind of speaks to just the problem with charge cards in general. Like, they're just so powerful. But with the Ungoro quest for Rogue rotating, I don't necessarily think it's as big of a problem. But at the same time, it's a 1 mana charge minion. Like, that's gotta restrict design space, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like that was one.
Topsy Turvy Priest was in the last tournament.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Topsy Turvy Priest is another one that definitely takes advantage of that. So I just feel like charge in general is a potentially problematic mechanic, again, with the way that the game works now versus when it first came out. So I don't think we're going to see any more charge minions, but I think that they should maybe look at just the neutral classic charge cards that they have, and Stone Tusk Spore is one of them. So I'm a little bit surprised, but maybe they're just kind of waiting to see how this year shakes out, and if it keeps being a problem, maybe they'll rotate it early. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm okay with charge existing in the way that it does on things like King Crush and Leroy and stuff, but you're right, like a really cheap charge minion can always cause problems because, in Magic, like a card having haste or whatever is fine because
You
can block it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in Hearthstone you don't have that option, so it always is going to be on the verge of creating problematic stuff. So
yeah,
I'm with it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see Stone Tusk Board just nerfed. Just make it
rush instead.
Yeah, right.
Make it a 1-0. Just dies when it hits the board.
I'd like
the
to
thing
see
is, though, it does
rush.
get awkward with Rexar too, right? So
yeah,
because that it's a beast.
Yeah,
so,
that too, and you should keep Wild in mind. I think with these changes. Speaking of keeping Wild in mind, the big surprise is that Genn and Baku are going to the Hall of Fame a year early, and taking with them all of the odd and even specific cards. All four of them.
4 of them, yeah. By the way, though, if you're okay, so I got into this stupid debate with some guy on Reddit, but the way it works, if you want these cards in Golden, this would be the time to craft them in Golden. If you plan on playing them in Wild, the guy was arguing with me. We were arguing the different things at each other. It was so funny. He's like, no, you're not up dust. I'm like, that's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing you're up a gold card. And
yeah, if you want a gold card, you get the dust back. So like this is the best.
But if you stand pat, technically you'll be up dust, right? Because just if you don't have them, you might as well craft them in non-golden or whatever if you want. But if you already have them in non-golden, then you just want them in golden. This would be the time to do it. So I've been going through playing a lot of arena, trying to grind up some dust because like all these other ones are freaking epics.
Yeah.
I already got the golden Genn and Baku, but the other ones are all epic, so got to work on that a little bit. But
yeah, I don't care as much about Gloomstag and Glittermoth, but I want Merc Sparkeel and Black Cat because those are going to show up in Wild at some point.
Those are good. Yeah, those are good, just good cards. But I'm just doing it because I just like golden cards. So
same.
Just understand everybody. If you have them in non-golden, but you want them in golden, craft them in golden, and then disenchant the non-golden ones because you don't get dust back for all 4 of them. You get dust back for just the 2 golden ones at that point.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I don't. No one. I'm surprised anyone would make an argument that anyone was even arguing that you would be up dust because you wouldn't be. That's not the point. Gold cards. I use this as my own justification for spending more money in Hearthstone to get even more dust so that I can make a bunch of gold stuff. So at the beginning of a new standard year, I'm just like, oh, look at all the dust I'm sitting on, yay! Even if I had to spend, I don't know, God knows how much money I spent last year.
The point is that if you let's say you own. It's just because it's been like 2 years since they've explained this. Like if you own regular Baku, and then you craft the golden one for 3,200, and then you disenchant your regular one, you get the 400 dust back, and then you'll also get the 3,200 back. But if you don't do any of that, you'll just get the 400. So it's like they're the same. It's the same. There's a lot of people talking about how you'll be up dust. It's the same either way. So
right, exactly. You will
You get the 1,600 if you have the.
Sorry, yeah. No,
yeah, okay.
You get 1,600.
I was like, whoa, wait.
Sorry.
What?
Yes, you get the full dust
you'll
amount.
Be up a golden card the other way. Excuse me. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, you get the full dust amount.
This guy it got so convoluted because we were arguing 2 different things.
Yep. So as a reminder, you will get the full dust amount credited to your Hearthstone account for the maximum amount of these cards you could have in a deck, and also the highest quality version of the card that you have. So if you have a golden version, you'll get the golden amount. But this doesn't mean you should stack like 2 of the regular, 2 of the gold. You will only get the maximum gold for the 2 golden because that is worth more than the 2 regular versions of the card.
If dust is your main concern and you have the in regular, just keep it in regular because, like Jocelyn said, you get 1,600.
Yep. But if you're already sitting on a butt ton of dust, there's no reason not to make gold versions of these because you will get that dust back.
Like for me, I want the gold cards. I don't, you know what I mean? So
yeah, this is why I have a golden Ragnaros and a golden Sylvanas, and it's 2 of my favorite cards in the game, and I get to still play them a Wild. It's great. But
if you're like a free-to-play player, then just stand pat. If you just want the dust, that's the way to go.
And we should also remind everybody, don't actually disenchant these cards. You'll never have to disenchant these cards. This is automatic free dust.
Yeah, just for having them in your collection.
Just for having them in your collection, exactly. You don't have to disenchant anything.
In fact, don't disenchant it because then you won't get the dust.
Exactly.
So just hold on to your cards.
I hope there's people like, because it's so weird how complex this has gotten in so many of these Reddit conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh God, I hope there's not people out there disenchanting these cards, thinking that they're going to get the full dust right now.
Yep. Just keep them. Just keep the cards. Just keep the cards. Unless for some reason you have a golden and a normal, then get rid of the normals, keep the golden. You'll get a bunch of dust. There you go. done. It's done. But all three of us were talking, when this news broke last week about, oh man, kind of a surprising precedent to see such big name cards move to the Hall of Fame so early. And I know you, Dales, I'm just going to call you out here and throw to you as well. I know you are not the happiest person in the world that these are just going to Wild and not being changed.
I'm not like mad, right? This is acceptable to me because I do think that in Wild, there's more ability to kind of counter how strong these cards are with other options, right? Like I was saying, in Standard right now, there's like no reason to play a Paladin that's not odd or even Paladin, right? That's just all you really see. But in Wild, there is definitely reasons to play odd and even, right? Like all the cards, because of the amount of the power levels of the cards that I can play overrides what the power level of Genn and Baku bring, right? So that's fine to me. And I'm like, okay, this is acceptable. However, they are going to always enable things like even Shaman and stuff to be super powerful there. And so my preferred option would have been for them to actually nerf the cards or do something to change how they worked. That way they don't just forever exist in Wild and forever affect it and do weird things there. I don't actually think that it's impossible that at some point in the future they will revisit this and change it. It's just maybe they just weren't ready. They didn't know exactly what was the right option as far as actual card changes were. So they said, we got to do something now because it's definitely overpowered in Standard. So this is okay. It's just not how I would have preferred it go down, right? Like I would have loved to have seen it change, but I'm totally okay with it. Like, it's better that they did something than absolutely nothing, right?
I was going to say, and this is, I think the reason why this news is so surprising, but I think so positive for the game is it's essentially the devs like admitting a mistake. They're like, this is not working the way we wanted. They're too powerful, whatever. We're just going to rotate them early. We're going to Hall of Fame them. Like, that's huge for them to rotate cards like this a year ahead of time. That's a really big admission from them that they know that these cards are too powerful. They're not working. They didn't, they're restricting design space, all the other reasons that you put things in the Hall of Fame. So I think that that's a really big step forward for the team. And I'm really glad they did it. But like Dills, I mean, I really wish that they'd actually I wish they'd found the solution and made a change to the cards, because I do worry about, the health of Wild as well, even though I don't play it as much as Standard.
Yeah, it's more or less where my head is at as well, is that, changes can still come down the line, although I don't know how you would change these cards, and I haven't heard a good suggestion yet as to how you would change Baku and Genn without just getting rid of them.
Yeah, making them unplayable, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of interesting ideas, things like have them work like quests where they are always in your opening hand. So it's actually like you don't get the effect unless you keep them in your opening hand. So it's actually a negative, because I think right now the way that it works is you just hope you never draw them, and then there's no real downside to it, right?
Yeah.
But if you forced the player, a la the quest, which I think was one of the reasons why the quest never really panned out, was because you had to hold on to it, then you had to spend 1 mana to play it. These cards, the downside is only like they're like patches, right? So I was playing an odd rogue in Wild for a while, and I had patches in it, and sometimes I would drew patches and I drew Baku, and I was like, I drew both my patches, and like that's, but that doesn't happen often enough for it to really be a drawback. So there's a couple of interesting things you could do. Other things too is obviously just make them even crappier statted than they are. So when you do draw them, it is actually that terrible, because a 9 mana 7/8, yeah, it's bad. But there's a lot of times, like if you're playing odd warrior, I got time to play a 9 mana 7/8. Like
Yeah.
It's not like I'm about to die right now.
It's still a threat that has to be dealt with, right?
And a 6 mana 6/5, and even Paladin, a lot of times you're just like, yeah, okay, I have nothing else to do with my turn, but guess what? I can play a 1/1 and a 6/5 on 7, and that's not that bad. So yeah, it's like there's not enough downside.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me at least is I almost wish that they had come with their own set of balanced hero powers instead of tying them into the
Just a car, hero powers.
Hero powers, yeah. Like if they
Just
just
car, you had to pay 6 mana for a terrible card, right?
Yeah, and then you upgraded your hero power from then on. But yeah, this like hero powers being available to you from the very start of the game is always going to be problematic. So you can't just kind of fall back and rely on stuff that was supposed to come into play on turn 5 or 6, you know, like halfway through a normal length Hearthstone match, Odd Warrior notwithstanding. So I kind of feel like if they just said, okay, well, if you build an odd deck or you build an even deck, here's your new Baku hero power and it does blank regardless of your class. Here's your new Genn hero power. It summons rushing Worgens or something. You know what I mean? Like, make it just do something different and still be hero powers, still from the start of the game, sure, because I agree with the dev team when they say they didn't want it to be a play effect like Keleseth that was, you know, if you got it, you win. If you don't, you lose. You know, I like the idea of it just being available for building your deck a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that the upgraded hero powers were just too powerful. So they should,
they could have gone with,
they should have made a new pool of hero powers.
Yeah, completely different hero powers have nothing to do with the original one, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I
kind of like a
like
neutral DK. Yeah, exactly.
That's the suggestion I like the most.
Yeah.
But yeah. On the subject of things like Malagos not getting sent to the Hall of Fame, Mike Dene did an interview with Shack News, and this was actually brought up in terms of Malagos. Dene said that we talked about cards like Malagos, which we talk about every year. We decided not to go with Malagos again because all of the decks that he creates, an important thing in card games is to have different types of decks. Not every type of deck should be medium-sized minions fighting. There needs to be small minions, big minions, and there needs to be some Malagos decks and other tricky decks that have different game plans. That's what makes card games interesting, and I don't think this is a particularly interesting reply. This just sounds like, well, why Malagos? Like, everything you just described was not one card specific, but you throw Malagos in with larger, wider reaching archetypes.
I disagree with this statement because you can make new ways to do Malagosi type things, right? But when you have these cards existing, because in the standard or in the basic classic set, there are some cards that are just kind of always going to, like, you know, and I understand they want these cards to kind of always exist to help players who don't have massive collections or can't spend a lot of money every single expansion to be able to play. But there's weird cards like Faceless Manipulator, Alexstrasza, Malagos, a lot of these types of things, mind control tech, that they do something very specific, and they'll always kind of be the way to do that, right? Acolyte of Pain. And if you keep them forever and you never rotate things in and out like that, they will just, like, 7-8 years from now, we're still going to be playing Malagos decks. And I'm just like, that's, to me, that feels a little stale. And I do understand in games like Magic, people have been friggin' lightning bolting people forever, that's fine. But that's a lot more of a basic type of card, right? This amount of mana deals this amount of damage.
Yeah, that type of deck isn't called the lightning bolt deck. Like,
sure.
And even I'm not disagreeing with you, but I feel like it needs to be pointed out, like things like Acolyte, things like mind control tech, the decks aren't built around that card. Decks are 100% built around Malagos. It precedes the name of the deck.
Yeah. Every time you print a card like Kobold Illusionist or Zarek's Cloning Gallery, or whatever, whatever way to cheat a minion out, everyone's always going to start with Malagos, right? Because if I could do that with some cheap spells, I can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd just be cool. Like, they could print other dragons with 5 spell damage, or things with 3 spell damage, or things with 4 or 10 or whatever. But it's just like, there's just always going to be this 9 mana thing that does 5 spell damage. How many can I get on the board? And that's just never going to stop as long as it's here. So I'm just, like, I don't hate Malagos. I just don't want the game, in 20 years to still be Malagos Mind Blast things, right? So
It's okay. They'll rotate them after Year of the Dragon.
Okay.
They'll let him have his one last year in standard.
Do you think that's really it? And they just don't want to admit, like, come on, guys, it's the Year of the Dragon. I would have been way more on board with that answer, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He totally should have said that. Like, we're not rotating dragons out right now. Are you serious?
Well, I mean, yeah, if this is supposed to be Year of the Dragon, then it makes sense to me.
Bring on the dragons.
they'd want to keep the dragons like in standard, but also design cards around dragons and not have to this is probably the wrong word, but like waste space in an expansion reprinting something like Malagos, like another big bomby dragon. They already have big bomby dragons, so just this way they can design cards around dragons for the year of the dragon, and then rotate something that's stale and problematic like Malagos and Alexstrasza at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, before we knew Genn and Baku were going away, and we were tossing around with ways they could do it, and we mentioned the idea of just put them in the Hall of Fame early. I think it was last week or the week before. I brought up that the only counterpoint I can think of is they've probably been thinking about those cards' existence as they develop the next set of cards. So there's also that with Malagos, which I wonder if that was going on in the background. That we're pretty sure Malagos is going to stick around, so we have some cool stuff that's going to work with Malagos, and it kind of goes in with what you were talking about, Joss. It's like, well, it works.
That's true. That's
why
it's a weird wrench in the design process, right? To
Yeah.
then have the balance team come and go, hey, we're gonna Hall of Fame Genn and Baku, and everybody's like, we put some odd even cards in the next set.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole set is made of odd even cards, right?
Sure. Oh my god. Mind blown.
Maybe they were. I'm telling you, maybe they were all like weird half mana amounts.
Yeah, 2.5
up
mana.
until the
That's
last
the
minute.
view.
Now they switched it. They're like, hey guys, can we get rid of those 0.5s on all these mana costs? They're like, well, we can now. But
That's the new feature. There's half manas you can spend.
Don't actually believe what I'm saying. I just find it amusing. But yeah, overall, I'm harping on Malagos a little bit just because I was pretty sure he was going to go away, and I'm just surprised that he's still around. But it's not the most passionate of beliefs as far as things I want for Hearthstone. Another year of Malagos, that's fine. I'm so happy that in Standard I don't have to deal with another year of Genn and Baku, because I was really dreading that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was we'd had enough.
Yep.
And this is a nice precedent to set, by the way, that if cards are problematic in Standard, it's possible that they'll get Hall of Fame. Right?
I think it's what we always ask for this. We always say, just do things because you feel they are right. Don't just stay to some predetermined belief system because you announced it one time.
Yeah.
Just
like,
do
why won't
what
you do
need
it?
to
Because that's not what we do. Well, why? Because we don't.
Because we had a blog post
okay.
3 years ago announcing how standard rotations work in the Hall of Fame, and it only happens this one time a year. Like, I'm glad. I'm really glad about this. Overall, yes, we're a little concerned for Wild. Yes, some of us may be a little more sick of getting burnt down by Malagos decks. But overall, I think this is incredible, and I'm really happy with these announcements.
To be honest, I'm more annoyed just at Barnes still in Wild. So this is like when I see somebody be odd or even, I'm just like, yeah, okay, acceptable.
Hey, at least you're not playing Barnes, man. At least you're not playing Barnes. I think maybe, unless you're getting weird with Priest.
Even Barnes. Yeah, no, let's not do that.
We should try and build that for collective meta. That'd be fun. Anyways, let's take another break real fast to thank our other sponsor today, which is Harry's. They are back to help you manscape. Or ladyscape? Is that a thing? I don't know.
Is now.
It is now. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Escape whatever you like.
Escape whatever you... Yes, exactly. Exactly. Except maybe your cat. I don't think they would appreciate that.
No catscaping.
No
Got
catscaping. No. But you should check them out, and specifically you should check out harrys.com/TAC, because you can redeem a trial set, which is a $13 value. It comes with everything you need for a close, comfortable shave. You get a weighted ergonomic handle, you get a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade. Don't forget about the trimmer blade. I did for a while, and it's amazing, and lets me get in hard-to-reach places and get real accurate. I love it. You also get a rich lathering shave gel and a travel blade cover. Again, you can redeem that trial by going to harrys.com/TAC. We've all used the Harry's razors here. We're all big fans. We're all converted. I have been a living infomercial anytime the subject of shaving comes up at family gatherings, and I'm like, you know what I use? I use Harry's. And then at this point, everyone's like, yes, you're a podcaster. I get it. You have sponsored. I'm like, no. I have actually spent my own money to keep the blades coming.
I stopped listening to podcasts that they advertise other razor companies.
That's a harsh.
They're dead to me.
You're taking a stand.
That's a hard. I'm not sure that I can condone that, but sure. If that's how you live your life.
I had a bounty to advertise another company on Twitch, and I was like, no, I wouldn't take this at all, ever. Get it out of my face. Harry's all day.
Yeah, we're big fans. It converted me from an electric razor. You should check him out. Get that trial set. harrys.com/TAC. We thank them for their support. We thank you for redeeming that trial set. Now, there's even more to the announcements from this past week. Arena changes have been announced. There will be a constantly rotating arena draft pool. The rotations are going to occur twice every expansion, and with this first rotation, they have said that the arena draft pool is going to contain Basic, Classic, Curse of Naxxramas, Whispers of the Old Gods, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, the Witchwood, and the first expansion of this year.
That's
I
cool.
am so excited for this change.
So, yeah, this means if there's always 5 expansions or whatever, the other kind of cool thing is you're not going to have smaller and larger card pools, right? You're always going to kind of have a similar number of cards within the rotation or whatever. So I think it's actually going to make things are going to change a lot, but things will kind of be more consistent because there's going to be this amount of cards showing up, and it's just going to make Arena a lot more fun for people who don't currently play a lot of Arena, I think. So let's say you get a little sick of the current meta, well, head on over to Arena because it's some completely crazy new thing over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, am just, this is amazing. This is the best.
Yeah, this is the most I felt like maybe I want to swap to being an Arena main, or at least try it for a little while, because this seems like it would be fresher more often. I mean, it's going to be, right?
Yes.
If nothing
it's
else.
going to change every 2 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also going to help that mid-expansion, like,
Lull.
slow down where everyone gets a little bit tired of seeing the same stuff all the time. Because all of a sudden, 2 months in, fresh Arena sets. And so it's like, it's just another way to break that up so that monotony doesn't kind of creep in the way it does right now.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to affect like Arena resources in any way? Like, I don't even know what resources you use, if you use any dills.
Oh yeah. Edwakta was not happy about this, honestly. And I don't know if it's because is
he ever happy about anything?
Dreading the amount of work he's going to have to do. Merps was more cautiously optimistic. But one of the reasons that Edwakta was not happy was just that the specific sets that they cited here, he believes are not the healthiest sets that Arena has ever had. He's also said that he's very happy with how Arena works right now because it's actually in a really good spot and a lot of people are pretty happy. So then to suddenly just throw a wrench in the works when things are going pretty well for a lot of people was, I think, a little frustrating. If you're an Arena specialist.
If only this was a new format, like a
if it was just its own thing,
game,
you could do standard Arena, or you could do,
whatever they call this arena.
Yeah, Cube Arena, like what I don't know what
Arena.
to call it. But yeah, no, that'd be sweet. They could have separate leaderboards and stuff, and people could just decide what they want to do. But the other concern he has, which I think is a valid concern, is that when a new expansion comes out, now they use the bucketing system, and they've worked that out, and they've gotten it pretty good. But generally, at the very beginning, it's always off. Right? Like they have cards in the wrong buckets and cards that are way too powerful being offered too often and cards that are too weak being offered not enough and all this kind of stuff, right? Where it's just not, the equilibrium is not right, and the classes get way out of whack. And then things get better as they adjust. They make all their micro adjustments and whatnot. But that takes a little time. So there's just going to be a lot more volatility more often, right? Because obviously, every 2 months, they suddenly have to start rebucketing everything. But if they feel confident that they've got that system down and they can do these changes quick enough that the volatility doesn't last very long, I believe this is positive overall. But I think Jocelyn's right. Like a new button, or click Arena and then decide from there which one you want to do, I think would be cool. Also, I wouldn't mind just seeing like completely wild Arena, all of the cards and all that kind of stuff. I think more options is better.
It's also going to be interesting for, bucketing and stuff, because I feel like the pairings of expansions that they do, because they're not even going by, like a standard year or anything like that. So the pairings of expansions that they choose to do, like cards are going to perform better depending on what other expansions they're paired with. So it's not even like you can say this card is always in the second bucket. It's like, well, when it's paired with these expansions, it might be in bucket 2, and then it, paired with these expansions, it's in bucket 4. Like, it's going to really depend, what the other cards are up against. So I can see this being really difficult for content creators and things, going forward. And
yeah,
like
the people who create the tier lists.
Yeah, the tier lists and stuff are going to be really, really hard, and they're going to have to be looked at every 2 months, and they're constantly going to be changing. So you can't even necessarily, unless they have a set of, however many, like 6 different pairings, and they just rotate through those 6 pairings. I don't know how exactly this is going to work. Like, is this just, oh no, Mean Streets wasn't the first expansion of the year. So yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's just like a completely kind of randomized setup.
Like, is it just going to be random or what? Yeah.
But like, okay, yeah. So take this example here. In Naxxramas, you've got Mad Scientist, right? So now to determine how powerful Mad Scientist is, I'm going to have to look at Whispers, Mean Streets, Witchwood, and whatever new expansion comes out, and look at what secrets are available to me in those.
Yeah.
Are those good, or am I missing like really good secrets? And does that mean Mad Scientist kind of sucks?
Is actually crappy. Yeah.
Even though that's just such a damn powerful card, it still won't be crappy. Let's be real. I mean, it's
because basic and classic are still there, right? So
so you always have those. But I mean, you're right. Like, power levels of cards is going to fluctuate wildly each time you pair them with a specific set of other cards. So yep, good luck in Walks in Merps. I do not want to do what you do.
I mean, it's job security if nothing else, but it is also a lot more work.
This does mean, though, I think we'll have a lot more, at least for our show, we'll have a lot more times where we can do arena-focused content here, because it is going to be more interesting for you guys, I think. And I know that arena is something that's hard for you guys to really care about, because it's like, well, I'm still just using the same set of cards in a way that I don't really prefer. So now it's just like, here's a whole new set of cards. I've
really been feeling the draw, and I blame Auto Chess. It's been scratching that limited section of my brain, and every time I get into Hearthstone, I'm like, I kind of want to play limited, but I've just been my practice in arena is so poor. Like, I'm so out of date that I haven't done it. But this,
I actually just got back into it for the dust reasons, and at first it felt like really difficult, but then I got 12 and 11 back to back, so it was like, okay, no, I can get there. I just have to wrap my head around what's going on right now, and that does take some time. So it's one of those things, like, you get frustrated really quickly and then you just give up, right? Yeah. But if you push through that initial part, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And this is going to make things all crazy. So
there's even more reason to play now too, right? Because your arena wins count towards your 500 wins for your golden heroes.
Yeah, that's true.
What? Yeah, this is great. And how did it take this long? Is my that's the closest thing to a counterpoint I have. Is
you can't think about that. You can't think of it that way. Otherwise, you're just never going to be happy.
Yeah, no, I mean, why did it take this long? But that's not a reason to not do it now, right? So I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So congratulations, arena players. Exclusive arena players, you will finally eventually have your golden heroes.
I was just saying, I wonder if this will be like retroactive.
No, they already said it's not.
Oh,
they did when they added them in the first place. They didn't do it retroactively either.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunate, but anyways, moving on. Solo player experience is getting a pretty major overhaul, and like Hearthstone Esports, it's still a little murky as to what this is going to look like. But according to the announcement, they have received overwhelmingly positive feedback on their dungeon run style missions. Boy, we are in the minority.
I mean, they're not bad. They're just not, like, they're stale at this point, right? The first time they gave it to us, I think we all were like, this is cool. And then...
And then I was done after the first time.
And then the third time they gave us basically the same thing. We were like, this is not as cool anymore.
Yeah, so now it sounds like we're getting that all year.
Yeah, but plus.
Kind
of. It's like ramped up. Yeah.
They said that they basically took, like, cherry-picked some of the best pieces from Dungeon Run, Monster Hunt, and puzzles. Mm-hmm. So because they mentioned puzzles...
I threw that in just for you, Joss.
I think they did, because like the rest of their single player content sucks, but puzzles, puzzles was awesome. So I'm cautiously optimistic for this, but I mean, we have to have the conversation around the cost of Hearthstone because, I mean, like now we've got 3 expansions every year. And on top of that, $20 per expansion to get all 5 chapters each time. So, you know, we're looking at another $60 if you want to play single player content. Man, they're really ramping up.
It is worth mentioning, though, that there's also 15 card packs and a golden classic pack behind that payment.
And a golden legendary.
That's very, very true. But that.
Oh, is that worth $20 to you?
Yeah.
I mean, if you, but I mean, it's, you know, again, it's optional. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. To me personally, I'm not mad when like the store puts a new product in if I don't want it. Like, I'm just like, I just won't buy it. But this I will buy. This sounds freaking cool to me. And I will say this, when I get a quest to do 3 Monster Hunt bosses or 3 wins or whatever in Monster Hunt, and then I go play
it. You can re-roll it now? Yay, I knew that.
No, what they're talking about isn't, you can re-roll those. What they're talking about is the ones that you get when it first comes out, right?
Yeah.
They force you to do those. But no, when I get the one to do 3 Monster Hunt or 3 dungeon run bosses or whatever, and then I go in there just to do that because those give you a pack, I do have fun because there's a reward and I'm not just doing it just to do it. So, and then I generally just do 3 and then I bail. Like, I don't like finish a run after I start it, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll go in and I'll do those quests and I'm having fun because I know there's a reward. So to me, like, this will be like, okay, well, I'm earning stuff each time I complete this. To me, that just adds that little incentive that was missing to me the first time around with all this solo content, where I agree.
Like, the 1 card back was not enough incentive for sure. Yeah. I did miss what I enjoyed was going through playing adventures and getting cards at the end of each like challenge, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think this
just feels nice, right?
Yeah. And
you get done and like, hey, here's stuff. Yeah. That's all I want. So
I am glad that we're getting stuff if you choose to play the single player experience. I guess I just, I liked that it was legendary cards and that they were like fixed rewards. Card packs are just, you know, like my $20 might be good, my $20 might be bad.
That's true. It is. It does create some volatility to it.
There. Yeah.
But I don't know. Like the fact that one of the packs is always like golden classic pack, that's just sweet to me. Like, I don't know. Like, I look at this and I go $20 for 15 plus this golden pack plus the legendary. I'm like, yeah, if that was just $20 to just buy that, and then I didn't also get playable content, I'd just probably do that. You know what I mean?
So
yeah, there's the gold. There's the gold as well, right? So
this is going to sound like I'm trolling, but I mean this. Can I just pay the money and not have to play through the content if it's just a dungeon run? I don't want to play a dungeon run. I'm done with them.
Get Katie to do it for you. But what if it's incredibly fun? Because they've actually, because if it's
sounds the same. Okay, sure. I'm usually the person who says, if you haven't tried it yet, why are you shitting on it? And here I am. I haven't tried it yet, and I'm shitting on it.
No, but it doesn't sound the same to me, because it's like, to me, this sounds completely different, because the solo content was something that they promised and then felt like they had to deliver, but didn't actually add anything to the game. So it always kind of felt like it was just tacked on, right? And now there's monetary return for the company to actually invest in this. You know what I mean? To me, this is the way to do it, right? Make this worth their while as developers. Mm-hmm. And then you can actually spend the time to do it right. But when you just promise it one time and you're like, damn it, now we got to give that to them every single time. Fine. Do dungeon run again, but throw in shrines. Like, that's kind of what it felt like, right?
That's exactly what it felt like. And so that's the thing. The description here is, it's difficult for me to change my tune on dungeon runs, because it just sounds like dungeon runs with bigger numbers. Like, I don't know what any of this means, because their video doesn't actually show how it works.
But there's a lot, and so far everybody who went and played it has had nothing but glowing reviews. I'm excited. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think card games like Peter Whalen's little crappy-looking iOS game that he made, but it's super fun to play.
Which is getting updates soon, by the way. He's been tweeting out.
Yeah, sweet. I haven't played it in a while, because I guess I kind of ran through a lot of it. and Slay the Spire and other kind of roguelike card games are so fun, and they're so playable on repeat. So if it gets that kind of feeling, because that's not what Dungeon Run gave me, right? Dungeon Run gave me that a little bit, and then it quickly tapered off, right? But if they do give me that actual feeling, if they do give me something that feels fully fleshed out, feels really fun, and includes rewards, oh my God, I'm excited. That sounds so fun to me.
Yeah. I guess my concern is, and I think the three of us more or less shared this concern, was that Dungeon Runs, once we had done it once, it just felt too random. Like, yes, you could try and build a fun deck, but your chances of actually completing the run seemed almost entirely based on luck and the bosses that you went up against. I'm hoping that is at least somewhat addressed here. Nothing in the announcement points that out, and I even went and dug up articles that kind of run through it from people who did get to play it, and then it didn't really mention that either. It's just mentioning treasures, it's mentioning building your decks, and it just sounds very similar to me. So that's why I, as someone who didn't enjoy Dungeon Run, am not particularly hyped for this yet.
Well, what I didn't like is that it was too easy to do the first 7 bosses, and then the last boss was like a crapshoot. If the difficulty ramped up around 5 or 6 a little more, that would have felt more satisfying. But it always felt like I did 7 bosses and then I lost for the 8th boss. I was like, oh, cool. Like the 7th boss was so simple, and the 8th boss was just impossible based on what I had.
Right. It felt like, well, had I known the boss I was building up towards, I could have done something about it, but I don't. Yeah. So I don't know. I hope I randomly picked the perfect cards to counter this boss.
Yeah. But I mean, like Slay the Spire works in a very similar way, where you're just kind of building with the strongest deck you think you can do, and you try to find synergies within it. And then sometimes you go up against your boss, you're like, oh God, this is not what I'm tuned for, right? And it's just part of it. But then you start over again, and that's supposed to be part of the fun. It's not for everybody, but there are a lot of people who just go nuts for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I know, you said you've been playing a lot of auto chess. Like in a lot of ways, that kind of feels like there's a little bit of that aspect going on, right? Because you don't know exactly what everyone else is going to be doing, right? So you're kind of preparing your own thing. And
well, in auto chess, you know exactly what everyone else is doing because you can look at their boards. Like,
sure, but then do you know exactly what they're going to do the very next turn?
Well, no.
Like, you know what they kind of
but
are
like
doing.
A Magic draft, when all the blue is disappearing, you're like,
sure,
somebody's going blue.
Yeah, you can make intelligent decisions, sure, based on the information you have. But it's incomplete information, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I found once I did the last bosses a few times, like in, say, Monster Hunt, I would go, okay, I know what they do. Now on the second boss, I can make decisions based on understanding what those last bosses do. That first time.
But even if you understood, like a lot of times it felt like there was like one boss that would punish spells and one boss that would punish minions. And you're like, well, I got to do spells or minions. Like, and if I do half and half, then I'm just, not going to do either thing well. So
yeah, sometimes you'd run into that guy who like gives all his minions charge, but he'd be, instead of him being the second guy, he's like the 6th guy, and he's like almost impossible at that point. Yeah.
Raven is hanging out in our chat, and he does bring up a good point that I had not considered. So he's saying that, in his opinion, he thought the biggest issue with Dungeon Run is that they didn't add to it. They should have kept adding bosses, unlocks, card buckets, etc., which was a critique I think all three of us brought up at one point, that it just seemed odd that they were more or less just rehashing the same idea in a different button, in a different mode, but not changing.
But not only
enough.
that, like it felt tacked on, because right now, after cards were nerfed or changed or whatever, they're like still in buckets they shouldn't be in and stuff. And when you're playing it, you're like, so nobody just went back and cared to fix this?
It's not updated. Yeah, it's not updated, not fixed. Yeah.
But that's because why would you go back and change it when there's no monetary reason to do that, right?
For sure.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. This certainly seems more ongoing. So I'll give good points for that.
One other thing I did want to mention just before we move away from solo adventure content is that this solo adventure kind of splash screen of everything that's going to be in the adventures is also, there's like the image like right at the very back that kind of looks like the Dalaran sewers, if you guys have ever been down.
Oh, it really looks like the Dalaran sewers. Holy crap, you're not kidding. Is this imaging? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Enhance.
Yeah, so if you've ever been in the sewers in Dalaran in World of Warcraft, this looks very sewer-like. So it might be that the solo adventure content is the sewers, and then that kind of feeds into the idea, Garrett, that you were saying earlier with the, 5 cards for 5 chapters and 5, underworld bosses possibly.
All right, Jocelyn, real fast. Are there 5 sectors to Dalaran? Can we, if we were to break Dalaran into 5 pieces, you've got the sewers, you've got like the market area, you've got the 2 faction specific areas, and then I guess you've got the Citadel. Huh? Is that it? Is that the adventure?
Could be. But I mean, there's nothing to say that the adventure won't tie into whatever the standard cards are in the overall expansion, right? Because they're talking about how they want to tie everything together to tell a really big Hearthstone story. So to me, this says like even if the adventure is like into the sewers, like into the sewers or something like that, doesn't mean that the rest of the expansion won't be like Violet Hold or something.
Yeah,
right. That's kind of my thought. Is like maybe the sewers is just.
I think it's gonna be a Dalaran focused overall expansion.
Yeah. That's why that's kind of what I was getting at. Is like I'm not sure it's a Dalaran Sewers expansion, but it sure as hell looks like the Dalaran Sewers are a chapter of this solo adventure at least.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, because you look and you see it's like a bunch of maps stacked on top of each other, right? So it's probably just one of the chapters.
Let's see. I'm counting 4 maps, not 5.
Yeah, but there's one sticking out on the left there a little bit. That could be 5. Like there's 4 right here, and then that one right there might not be jutting out on the other side.
Maybe. Could be. Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. I'm going to fire up Photoshop, and we're going to draw lines. We're going to line these up. That's what we're going to do. No.
You're like Shane Dawson with Chuck E. Cheese pizza right now.
Yes.
I'm going to figure this out, man.
Exactly.
So I mean, they do give us a lot of information here. They're like 75 bosses. That seems like a lot of like new stuff. I like the idea of the boss fights that we used to have with the raid stuff. So if they can mix that in with the dungeon run, with the puzzles, with the whatever, and if it's all kind of this conglomeration thing, I want to be real happy with it. I'm really hopeful that that's what it is.
I'm hoping to be surprised because I'm going to get it. I'm going to at least give them the benefit of the doubt on this first one and see how it goes because I'm assuming.
By the way, no, I did read a couple other things. It does sound like one of the issues that we had was that there's like one deck you start with for Rogue and it's got like Sinister Strike in it. And you're like, that's stupid.
Oh,
there's like 3 different decks you could choose, or you could do a random combination. Like, just seems like it's a mixture of a lot of the things that, like, a lot of the problems sound like they were addressed to me.
Well, cool. Well, if you are excited for it, Dills, then I'll shut up.
I'm interested to get more information about it, I think, and then I will reevaluate because I am still, even though there's a card back associated with it, not playing the Rastakhan stuff very specifically to be like, no, I don't like this content. I'm voting with my playtime. I will never, not even for a card back. So
I gotta say though, I was pleasantly surprised when the Tavern Brawl thing came along because I think that might have been one of the aspects that was missing from the single player version of it was playing against other people doing it. I think that it was actually a pretty well designed thing. Just when I was actually playing against other people, I was like, oh, now this is fun. So I mean, there's a lot you can do with this kind of stuff. It's just felt like when it's just the solo stuff and it feels tacked on. Yeah, totally, I get it.
So I'm very much like cautiously optimistic because they did talk about, or I guess it was another article, right? It wasn't actually the specific Hearthstone announcements, but they talked about Danae saying that they were cherry picking the best parts. So I'm glad that they're making it into something more than it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they got my money regardless. My $20 is shipped right to them for this. I'm doing it.
Maybe I'll let you play it first, and then you can tell me if it's fun.
They have mine for this one, and we'll go from there. That's kind of how I'm playing this. It's because the card packs are there. I'm so hesitant to this type of game mode that I would be standoffish otherwise, but. Anyways, there's other stuff, kind of minor notes and things to mention that there's going to be free packs up for grabs. If you log in between March 25th and April 2nd, you get free packs. You get 1 per day. So go log in.
Mm-hmm. And I think they rotate between expansions, right?
I don't know.
It says down below, Mammoth Sunset. Log into the game between midnight and March 25th. We'll reward you with 1 pack each from the Journey to Ngoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds to Catacombs expansion.
Oh, well, there you go. So that does work. Yeah, they're calling it the Mammoth Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Jocelyn, have you heard that
Bang.
Zale, the Shadow Cloak, is going to be a new whiz-bang-ish card?
I did, which is kind of unfortunate because I wish they just updated Whizbang. Like, instead of giving me another card with new deck recipes, add the deck recipes to Whizbang.
Well, but it sounds like it's different because it said there's 5 new deck recipes. So I would hope that Whizbang will just always use whatever the current deck recipes are. And then this is like some other thing, right? I don't want them to
Maybe,
just, I don't want
yeah,
this to be,
it is a little bit kind of
yeah,
confusing.
because there's way more than 5. There's friggin' 18. So that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. So it's got to be like some completely different stuff.
Yeah.
Be
What I
interesting.
would like to see, though, because this leads right in, smarter deck builder. How about Whizbang gives me smarter recipes?
Well, I think oh shoot, what's his name? He did the reveal. Regis Kilbin.
Regis
is it?
Kilbin.
Yeah. He did a video about some of the stuff that they talked about at the Hearthstone Summit, and they did talk about how the deck builder is going to, like, I think, use internal Hearthstone stats. So if you like half build a deck and then go to fill in your deck, it's gonna give you like high win rate cards that work well together. So
Well, if you own all the cards, if you own all the cards and you just say build a deck, like you just tell it to build a deck, it builds you the top, like the most winningest deck of that class with the cards you own. So if you own every single card, it'll literally just give you the best deck of that class.
Wait, does this mean, is it based off win rate? Do we know if it takes into account like games played?
Internal win rate. Yeah.
Does it take into account games played? Do we know that?
I don't know if they have some cutoff or whatever.
know.
They're still going to give us a lot lot more information.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
literally like the best possible.
That is rad if that's the
you can
case. Does this mean that when Ixar gets on blast and informs us that there's some deck with an insanely high win rate that we don't know about, no one's playing, that we can just go into Deck Builder and check all the classes and look for something that makes no sense to us?
Sure.
Yep.
Well, but the other thing
That's
you
awesome.
can do too with this is you can say put in some combo that you want, right? Like I want to play these 10 cards, and then I say fill in the rest, and it'll take those 10 cards and then give you the winningest deck that includes those 10 cards and the 20 cards that go along with it to make that the winningest deck, right? That's technically how it's supposed to work. It sounds freaking crazy, and I'm like, tell me more. I want to hear like more things I could do, but it really sounds, it's like right now that whole system is kind of garbage, right? Because they got rid of the random thing, which was super fun. Remember, people love doing the random.
Yeah,
deck.
that was really, really fun where you could just push the button and get a random deck and then play against your friends.
Yeah, and then play against your buddy,
Yeah.
right? And like I love that to come back in some form because
Can
I
they
think that
just
was
add
cool.
a little roulette icon and I hit that and it's just
Give me some other thing I could
hope
do.
for the best?
But I was talking about this on my stream the other night, that this would make a really fun kind of draft format that I can now create an interesting draft format myself. Where like, let's say me and you get into, a Skype call or a Discord or whatever. And we're like, okay, mage versus mage. I pick a card that I get. And now you pick a card that you get. And now you pick a card that you get again. Now I pick a card and you kind of snake draft 20 cards, and then now we just press complete and it just completes the thing, and now we play like a best of 5. Like you could just do kind of cool, interesting, fun things with this, right? And to me that sounds really interesting, so I would love to do something like that. Like we're mage and I'm like, I got fireball, and you're like, oh wait a minute, you can't have all the damage, I got crossbolt, and you just kind of go back and forth picking those cards.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Be into that.
This is another little like, what? You're also giving us this? This is a fun extra thing I didn't even think of that I didn't know I wanted, but now I totally want.
Yeah. Fireside pre-releases are now the norm. They will be continuing from here until otherwise noted. And also at-home pre-releases are going to be a thing for smaller unlisted Fireside gatherings, which I think is really cool because
Sweet.
I have not been able to get out to Orlando at all in the last year, essentially. You'll also be able to re-roll legendary quests. So if you were like me and sat on your Monster Hunt quest for a long time, you could eventually just tell it to go away.
Yeah, that is kind of annoying that it always took up a slot until you did it, right? I mean, for me, it was not a problem because I'm just like, yeah, I instantly did it, right? But I know there's a lot of people who are like, I don't have time for this. I need my just win 2 games quest, man. So yeah, now you can just say, no, I don't want to do that. So let me play with the game that I want to play.
Yeah, I mean, typically the legendary quests are very much worth doing, but when I think of quests, I think of, I can get rid of them until I find quests that allow me to just play the game the way I like to play it. So that now extends to legendary quests. So you can get rid of them if you want to. We're also getting a random card back option, which I am ecstatic about.
Yeah, this
is a little thing, but
a no-brainer to have, and now it's here. Sweet.
So happy about it. And I tweeted out that you better be able to get that wooden card back, and Lindsay confirmed you may end up with it if you select random card backs as your option.
By the way, in other card back news, I'm just going to put somebody on blast real quick. Remember when Chalky was on the show and said that people who hit Legend every month don't use the Legend card back?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I played him in Arena the other day, and he had the Legend card back on. And I was using the pizza back.
Well, that's because the pizza back is the greatest Hearthstone card back ever made.
And I won, so who's a legend now?
Are you sure it was actually him?
Yeah, because we talked after the game.
No.
Has anyone mentioned a Hearthstone card back in, I don't know, 3 years other than the pizza card back? Like, it has actually reignited conversation about card backs.
Mostly when we're opening packs, that's when Jocelyn starts talking about.
Yeah, no, that's when the card backs really matter.
That's when they're the star of the show, right? Like when you're playing the game, you don't see them as often, and you only see like half of them. So,
what if I did random card back
while opening
my
packs?
Card back and open packs?
Does
Would
it?
I get
One is different.
Card backs every time.
It should.
That would be
I
amazing.
hope it does.
I hope that's the case. Please.
I hope so.
Otherwise, it's broken. Oh, did we ever talk about this, by the way? The Hakar card back thing?
Did, yeah, I think it was the episode.
Okay. Was it the week I wasn't here?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was sweet. That was a super cool thing.
It was really
I
cool.
didn't even see it coming. Somehow that flew right past me, and all of a sudden I was like, what just happened? Why do I have this card back all of a sudden?
What a cool way to experience it. You're just like, what just
rad.
what?
Yeah.
Huh? That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's freaking great. So all this is great news. There's also an AMA on Reddit. It's going to be Thursday, March 7th at 1 p.m. Pacific. That's this Thursday. I'm on to you, Hearthstone.
That's basically just all about all this Year of the Dragon stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thursdays are big announcement days for Hearthstone. I wonder
what up with that?
I wonder if anything else is getting announced on Thursday that might be brought up in this AMA.
We shall see, and then we'll talk about it Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm on to you, not Heroes of Warcraft. I'm on to you. All right. We did it. We made it through the Year of the Dragon announcements. It's time to talk Heroes. Hearthstone esports. There is no Heroes esports.
Heroes doesn't have esports. What are you talking about?
You set that up like you were going to have a fancy bumper to play or something.
Nope.
And now it's time for Hearthstone esports.
Now it's time for Hearthstone drama. Really, is what it is. We need like a TMZ bumper sound effect.
You just run up to Roger and tell him while he's walking around town.
Roger, why are you public enemy number 1 within the world of Hearthstone? Jocelyn, would you like to explain the drama that I was only made aware of this morning?
Well, we should first talk about that HCT Winter happened, and we do have a champion, and we do have the last 4 qualifiers, right?
Exactly. And I think this did actually shake out to be a really interesting tournament for all the reasons that we thought it could, because we had, points leader Tyler was in the pool. We had Viper and Bunny Hopper and Bloody Face were all already qualified, and then ended up 3 of them, Viper, Bunny Hopper, and Bloody Face, all ended up in the top 8, which meant that they can't double qualify. So we ended up with a pool of 8 players that instead of only 4 of the 8 qualifying, we had only 1 of the top 8 that had to be eliminated somehow to not make it to the World Championship. So we had
That's crazy.
we had a tiebreaker bracket that they had to play through on the final day. And I really did like how they scheduled it, because they got all the way to the top 2 of the regular bracket. And then they took the time to play through the tiebreakers to figure out who was going to qualify for the World Championship, which normally would be your 4 semifinalists. And then after the tiebreaker, then they played the final. So it was kind of like this like constant ramp up. It didn't feel like the tiebreakers were lesser, like done after the finals or anything like that. So I really did enjoy the way that they set it up. And it was a lot of pretty good Hearthstone. There were a lot of interesting moments. And we did end up with a champion, Roger, who is not without controversy. There are a lot of pro players, a lot of, I guess, pro players and fans alike that felt that maybe he shouldn't be allowed to compete in HCT this year because he was part of the HGG team that was disqualified for cheating. The penalty for that, and this is something we talked about when we talked about the disqualification, was that they weren't allowed to participate in HGG. They lost their spot to BlizzCon, but there was no HCT ramifications for any of those 4 players. So Roger himself, he was part of the team, but not the specific player on the team who had the HGG stream open.
Yeah, he was not cited as the guy who made the cut because they basically uploaded a video afterwards of them playing, right?
Yeah.
And their commentary and everything to their own channels because they're all like streamers and stuff in Taiwan. And you could hear them talking about, how did you know that there was no mind control tech in his hand?
Yeah.
And one guy says, oh, because I saw that it was discarded.
It was discarded with tracking. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Roger was part of the team, but not the one that had the stream open.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, he's the one who asked that question too, by the way.
Yes.
I haven't watched this, so I haven't watched the actual.
I haven't
speak
watched
the language,
it.
So it's hard for me.
Yeah, exactly. We always have to rely on translations, which may or may not be reliable. So, I mean, I think what's kind of telling in all of this, because then, so the second instance that is a little bit sketchy is that earlier on in the year, he had allowed a friend to win on ladder in the last 5 minutes of the season, which allowed the friend who was also part of the HGG team. This is the same player who had the stream open. So if anything, I feel like the friend should be
that guy
the one.
Sounds like
Jackson is the one who sounds like he's really the one who's kind of super sketchy here. But
like, you know, that friend who's always trying to get you to drink and smoke weed and like middle school. That's that guy.
Yeah. So basically,
he's like, come on, just do it, man.
Yeah. So Roger conceding a game he would have won right before the end of the season allowed the friend to get a top 25 ladder finish and qualify for playoffs, which he wouldn't have otherwise done. So that happened, but that was never punished or validated by or acknowledged by Blizzard in any way, shape, or form. So what this kind of all comes down to is how much you trust Blizzard. And I think that there's a lot of anti-Blizzard feelings across all communities right now. So I think that people tend to, at this point in time, not trust Blizzard. And
there's like conspiracy theories about this, honestly. Like they think that Blizzard and Roger are somehow in cahoots.
Yeah, because they like I've even heard stuff saying like they wanted to make sure that there was a Taiwanese player because that's where the World Championship is going to be held. So they wanted like a local guy to be in the, like it's
like what's more likely?
All kinds of crazy conspiracy theories.
I mean,
to me, whenever these things come up, I always ask the question: what's more likely, that they investigated it and decided that
that it didn't break terms of service
was enough punishment, and they're okay with what's going on, and he's actually just an amazing player who then won this championship completely on his own without cheating here, or that Blizzard is conspiracy. They're part of the Free State and they're running the world with Jewish bankers and like it's like they're aliens coming down. They're lizard people. Ben Brode is actually like, you know, like no, none of this makes sense to me. Like I'm like, I think probably they investigated and came away that this was enough of a punishment, getting kicked out of HGG.
Which I think this is where kind of communication comes in, and communication has been the problem, like they're the complaint levied against Blizzard for the last couple of years, really, is that if they had just come out and said, look, we are aware of the HGG thing, he was disqualified from that, that was his punishment, you know, you like it or don't like it, that's what happened. and we investigated the events on stream, link, blah, 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 whatever. And we decided it didn't break terms of service. It wasn't actually win trading or whatever. Investigation concluded. We looked at it because right now it seems like Blizzard is ignoring it. And I think that's what has a lot of people in the community upset, is that they feel like there's this information out there that Blizzard is ignoring. And they probably didn't. They probably investigated, but because they never said anything,
but the evidence all does seem a little murky as to me.
It is.
Actually like outright ban this dude. Like it seems like I need a little more than one game on stream this one time and this other guy on his team that he had also got his team disqualified. Like I need it to be like, no, he's doing this. He's the bad guy. He shouldn't be in Hearthstone esports. Like that's the problem for me is I'm like I feel like people are grabbing the pitchforks like with not a lot of hard solid evidence, right? And like we know in the past, Naaman specialists, some other people have been hard banned, right? Like accounts locked and everything.
Banned. And there was a huge ban wave in China that went out
like excessively win trading, like very blatantly, right? So to me, it sounds like they have the means to look into this. They did, and they
and nothing happened to him. So to me, nothing happening to him is enough evidence to me that Blizzard doesn't think that he cheats.
Well, again, with the HCG, I mean, he wasn't the one doing the cheating, right? And with the win trading, wasn't it? I mean, again, he was on stream, wasn't it? To like, he was making trying.
Sounds like a funny thing with his buddy more than
he basically boosted his friend, right? And gave
one time in one game, right?
Yeah.
Not like they queued in each other over and over and over again, right? Like it sounds like
right. No, but it's because of when it happened and the result of. This guy's ladder finish then meant that he qualified for playoffs he wouldn't have otherwise. It didn't impact Roger at all. It was a thing he did for a friend, and
it's a crappy situation for sure. But to me, this reminds me of like the times Disguised Toast has been banned or like temporary timed out from playing Hearthstone because he was on stream intentionally breaking the game because that's what he does.
I
mean, it's not that Roger is known for this, but it's.
And by the way, Roger played real freaking good in this tournament, dude.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? Is like I think that's the takeaway, or what people should take away from this is like whether you believe he should have been there or not, you basically you can't cheat at the actual championships, right? Like
with the noise canceling headphones.
There's noise canceling headphones. Yeah. They take their phones away. Like they're on camera the whole time. They're monitored. They're not even on their own accounts. Like there are so many things in place to make it so that you cannot cheat. And he won because he's good at Hearthstone. So, I mean, whether you believe he should have been there or not, you can't deny that he's a good Hearthstone player and deserved to be there because then he went ahead and won the tournament. So the skills are there. You can't cheat your way to the Winter Championship. So, yeah, it's
a long road to get there, man.
Yeah.
The chat, somebody is saying though that means someone else didn't qualify because of the win trading. That I think is the most unfortunate part of the whole thing. Yeah. But that's the other player, not Roger, who Roger was already going to be there. The other guy ended up getting a spot he shouldn't have got.
Roger's actions allowed his friend to qualify, which bumped somebody else.
So if Blizzard were to take action here, I would think it would be to disqualify the other guy and say, "Ooh, yeah, you weren't supposed to qualify."
Yeah, and this is where a statement from Blizzard would go.
And then tell Roger "Hey, bro, don't do that anymore, okay?"
Yeah, and that's that's where something out of Blizzard, some communication around this, some sort of, we know this happened, but we don't believe Roger's at fault or don't believe he was breaking rules or whatever. And it was almost a year ago, so it was technically within this HCT year. So it was in season 1 of 2018 is when this win trading, air quotes for the audio listeners, when that occurred. So it is all still within, all this stuff happened within the current standard year, which I think was why people are saying he shouldn't be allowed to compete in anything that has to do with the 2018 season. But that is Blizzard's decision, and Blizzard decided to allow him to compete. Blizzard isn't oblivious to all of this, so it just depends whether you agree with Blizzard or don't agree with Blizzard. But in the end, they're the ones with the tools to actually properly investigate. So he won. That's what happened, which he faced Bunny Hopper in the finals. And I was rooting, not because of any of all this other crap, but I was rooting so hard for Bunny Hopper because how amazing would it have been to be a back-to-back champion? Like, he won the summer championship. It would be so cool if he then won the winter championship. I was so rooting for him, man.
I just cared about Ike. I was super happy that Ike qualified.
I didn't even know, like, when they had the Ike interview, like, I didn't even know half of his story. I didn't know about, like, his medical troubles and
all. He was like a walking boot the entire tournament. He had to sit down for all the interviews.
Yeah, like, I had no idea that he had those kind of issues, and it just made, like, I was rooting for him so hard. He was like the feel-good story, and then when he ended up qualifying, I was just like, yes. Go Ike. We like Ike. But so we do now know the 16 players who are going to be competing at the World Championship. So we've got 4 from EU. So we've got Bunny Hopper. We've got a whole bunch of numbers. A83650. We've got Viper and Hunter Ace. Hunter Ace was our EU points leader. Then from NA, we've got Killin' All Day, Language Hacker, Bloody Face, Just Sayin', Ike, and Muzzy. Just Sayin' was our points leader, but because he qualified through the Summer Championships, Muzzy, as the runner-up, got the spot.
That's a lot of NA right there, man.
It's a lot of NA. Yeah, NA has a really good showing at the World Championship, which has not been the case in previous years. So we'll have to see how they do. But yeah, we've got a real good contingent coming out of NA. Then from APAC, we've got Blood Trail, Roger, who was our winter champion, and Tyler, who was our points leader, which, again, Tyler is another really good feel-good story. I'm glad that he was able to lock down that APAC points leader position because, man,
he went through some hard stuff right before
the tournament. Exactly. Yeah, he really, really did. So I'm glad that he was able to make it in on points. And then from China, we have Jing, Yu Ying, and Zhao Ti are our qualifiers. So 2 of those who just qualified through this Winter Championship, which is also another the story coming out of the Winter Championships was about China and how well their representatives are doing because they had like a 6-2 record coming out of groups or something like that. Like they did really, really, really well. And it's for a long time, the Chinese players were kind of lagging behind the other regions and never had particularly good showings in playoffs. So to see the Chinese team being able to qualify 2 players through the Winter Championship, it was definitely China's weekend.
Yeah, it was a fun tournament to watch. I watched quite a bit of it, and really enjoyable. And I think the most excitement I had was the tiebreaker tussle. That was
the tiebreaker was
really cool to watch.
Edge of your seat.
There's a lot of pressure on that, and I felt real bad for the kid who lost twice. Oh, geez.
Definition.
Yeah, he was just I could tell he was so hard on himself after that.
It's got to be so difficult to make it to the top 8 and know that only one player of that top 8 is not going to go to the finals, like not going to go to the World Championship, and to be that one player, like, oh man, that's rough. It's really rough.
I'm sweating just thinking about it.
So you did make some questionable decisions though, and it's like this is to me though this tournament again was like proof. When people kind of like lol RNG about the Hearthstone esports stuff, it's like, well, why were 5 of the top 8 already qualified? Like if it's just lol RNG. Yeah.
Well,
like, the top players keep getting there over and over and over again.
Well, and I think we talked about this too, going into the World Championship, the Winter Championship, is just the idea of the Hearthstone Masters program and the fact that there was a reason beyond just qualifying for the World Championships. This year, there was a reason to keep trying to get points, to keep pushing it, to keep going to all the tour stops. And, we didn't have that in previous years. So I think this year is the year to kind of hold up and show people and say like, no, when there's actually a reason to keep competing, the same people will come out on top over and over and over again. This is why we have players like Hunter Ace, Just Sayin', Muzzy, Bunny Hopper. Like these are people who just win championships over and over and over again when you give them a reason to compete over and over and over again.
Also, when you give them a meta like we've had for the past year.
Well, there's a lot less RNG involved and a lot more just solid decision making and deck building, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just another thing I feel like needs to be brought up. I felt we had kind of the most consistent metas.
That's what though, it's funny is this meta a lot of people don't like because of the lack of RNG, right? And the pros love it because they're like, yeah, lack of RNG. I get to win when I play good. And then a lot of like casual players are like, this is boring. What the hell? I just push this button and get 2 dudes every time. It's like, yeah, you loved Hearthstone when there was rag shots going who knows where, right? But now all of a sudden it's boring to you. But yeah.
Hey, there's still rag shots going who knows where. Are you playing
That's
Mage?
true.
What
Yeah,
are you doing?
Janela is out there if you want to play that deck. Good luck.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I'm sure things will shake up. So it doesn't start the World Championship doesn't kick off until April 24th. Do we think this
Late
will
April.
Yeah. Do you think this means I haven't really thought about it until now because I was looking at the expansion release dates from the past with the Year of the Dragon being announced. Are we gonna have like a later than usual expansion launch?
No.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
They're gonna play the
we
new
just
cards.
talked about this off the top of the show, Garrett.
Yeah, Garrett was.
I misunderstood. I thought
okay.
they were floating the idea for the future, and never mind. Just
Okay. Yeah. No. Just yeah. So with the World Championship starting, it's April 24th in North America, but April 25th in the host country. So yeah, that's the idea. Is are they going to basically do the standard rotation around the normal time that they do, which is sometime in the first half of April? If that's the case, then competitors are going to have about 2 weeks of the new standard rotation of the new expansion to then compete in the World Championship, which I think is a little bit odd. I kind of wish that we were at the end of March getting our World Championship so that we could actually see them compete with the cards from the year that they're supposed to be competing in. Like, it's supposed to be the Year of the Raven Championship. Why are we potentially playing with the Year of the Dragon cards? But yeah, the other thing is, so either they do the rotation in like with the timing of where it normally has been in the first half of April, or they do it in the first half of May and it's delayed by a month essentially. But I don't think that they'll do that. But then yeah,
Nah.
it's gonna be weird.
One thing is for sure though, Raven will get something super right, and Sada will be super wrong about it, and it'll be sweet on screen with all these brand new cards.
are you pandering
Absolutely.
because Raven's in our chat right now?
Yeah, but he also did like during the tournament, he was nailing it with his calls. And
Oh
it
yeah,
was
those yeah.
pretty sweet.
Priest win on 8. Priest never win on 8.
Just
Bam!
play gallery and you win.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
And like so, and Raven in chat room is also saying that Worlds with new stuff is interesting. Sure, yeah, no, I'll give you that. Absolutely, it's interesting, and I think it's going to be good for marketing and viewership. But I think it's crappy from just a player perspective. Like I want to see the Year of the Raven Championship with Year of the Raven cards, but I know that's just me.
It is definitely not just you.
Not just you, but it's something that I think bothers you more than it bothers probably most people. Like,
Yeah.
I
get
like,
that
I don't
it's
care,
gonna be interesting, and I'm super excited to see the best players in the world play with the first or new expansion that we've had in months. Like, that's gonna be great. I just wish it wasn't the World Championship for 2018. That's all.
It will be interesting though if there's like some broken card in the new set and somebody figures that out first. They'll have a super sweet advantage. But
Which is
somebody
something
just brought
that is
up
fun to see too, right? Is
yeah, Corridor Creeper. That was Chalky, Zalay, and Amnesiac figuring that out in that one team tournament.
Mhm.
Just steamrolling everybody because they're like, yeah, 0 out of 5/5 is really good, you guys.
Yeah, and which again, that's exciting and fun Hearthstone, and there's a lot to be said for not punishing, the opposite, rewarding. I was like, what's the opposite of a punish? A reward. So
Never
like
had one of those before. What are you doing?
but yeah, like a reward, it rewards players who are good at deck building, which I think is a good thing. And this is something we talked about before with new expansions or nerfs, rotations or whatever happening right before a championship. It's just because it's just a sticking point in my head where it's like, this should be the championship of the Year of the Raven. So it should be played with the Year of the Raven cards, because it's supposed to like bring everything together and then crown a champion. And so to me, it just seems odd that it's then with Dragon cards. But I think from a viewer perspective, it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be really fun, and it's going to be cool to see the new cards in action. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, Rexar is not going to be there, like no more Quest Rogue. All that stuff is just gone. No more quests, no more legendary weapons, no more Gul'dan. Yeah, no Rexar, no none of that. So it's going to be an interesting tournament. I just wish it wasn't the World Championship.
I wonder if Spirits and Loa are actually going to be in decks now. because the power level, everything goes down so much, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe I do want to play,
Yeah.
rushes with Spirit of the Tiger or Spirit of the, what is it, Mammoth?
God, no more Genn and
I don't even know what it is. Oh, Spirit of the
No
Rain.
Genn and Baku, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Genn
no
and
Genn and
Baku
Baku.
can take a long walk off a short pier. F off.
Yeah.
Don't want to see anymore.
I think it's going to be an interesting tournament.
Oh God, is there any chance Cracklaw becomes a meta card?
I hope so.
Please. I want my round boy and my
Aggro
shaman.
seems like it'll probably be a thing because they still have Lightning Bolt and Lava Burst. And
Aggro everything is totally going to be a thing. With a standard rotation 2 weeks before a world championship, yeah.
God,
There's
I
going to
hope
be
so.
a lot of aggro.
I really hope
Yeah.
so.
I want to see like pure tempo rogue again and stuff. I want to see like mid-range paladin. I want to see, you know what I mean? I want to see all that kind of stuff.
speed it up. Let's speed it up a little bit. Although I guess
I wanna
priest
see,
winning
like,
on
back
turn 8
and
is pretty
forth, not
fast.
like two players sitting back waiting to OTK you, right?
Yes. I'm playing Wall Priest with the rest of them, but it doesn't mean I'm not longing for snappier games from time to time. Anyways, so we're basically at 2 hours. I think that's a show, everyone. I know. So if you follow when we post strategy decks early, you know that we were planning to do Malagos Rogue this week, but it was a thick one, folks. We're just going to shelve that for now, and we're not missing any questions. No one had any questions about the Malagos Rogue. I think y'all
It's pretty
understand how it
straightforward,
works.
and maybe next week we can, if there's not a bunch of news, maybe we can like even tackle a couple of decks or something. We'll see.
Yeah, we're in that point here, right? Like we're the expansion's got to be announced. I'm pretty damn sure the expansion will be announced.
It's
by
probably
going to
be where we're not going to be able to do strategy for a little while, and whoops,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
If you've been listening to the Angry Chicken for a while, you know segments tend to get shelved when it's preview season for new expansions. So just keep that in mind, and also hope you like long episodes because those will probably be coming as well once card reveals start kind of gearing up. So. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you to our patrons supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you like the show and you want to support the three of us, that is the best way to do it. It's like an opt-in subscription. You don't have to, but if you want to kick in $1 or $2, do it. We very much appreciate it, and every little bit helps. Speaking of which, huge thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Sean C. Thank you for the support, you too. If you want to catch the whole back catalog of episodes, which with over 300 of them now, that would take quite a while, but you can still do it over at youtube.com/AMoveTV. Got all the episodes up over there. You can go see sweet summer children that we were, not knowing what this game would become. So go check it out. Dills, you do all sorts of other stuff around the web. Where can everybody find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Willie Dills, and twitch.tv/Willie Dills, where you can find me playing mostly Arena right now to grind up some dust and stuff in preparation for the Hall of Fame. But if you're in the Austin area for South by Southwest, I also want to mention that I'll be at South by So Wasted with Night Attack, Ice Cream Social, Whiskey Vault guys, and it's March 9th, which is Saturday, so it's coming up this coming Saturday, which is right at the beginning of South by Southwest. There's tickets available. We're actually in a venue that you got to like buy tickets to. So bit.ly/Night Attack Austin is where you can buy those. I think there's not that many left. So if you are going to be here, you should pick them up now.
Justin was messaging me this morning being like, hey, come to Dragon Con. You need to come to Dragon Con. Get Dills to come to Dragon Con. Get Jocelyn to come to Dragon Con. Do an Angry Chicken at Dragon
He
Con.
loves his Dragon Con.
Yeah. So just putting that out there. I can drive. It's easy for me to get there, but y'all should come to Dragon Con this year.
Yeah, it's a little tougher for me.
Yeah.
It's not that tough. Atlanta's a hub. You know, it's relatively cheap flights. It's not like we're going to California or something.
That's true. It's not crazy, but it's,
Yeah.
not a drive.
Anyways, Jocelyn, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Joss Plays. That's JOCE Plays. And again, Tuesdays and Sundays, our raid team is raiding Heroic. We had 3 sub 5% wipes on Stormwall Blockade last raid night. So Stormwall Blockade's going down today, and then we're punching Jaina in the face.
I just had sweaty flashbacks to Syndragosa in Lich King. Ugh. Scary stuff. Well, good luck with that. I'm rooting for you. I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. All of the podcasts that I do, including this one, is over at amove.tv. My buddy Kyle and I from our Hero Show have launched an Apex Legends show. So if you want to hear us talk about Apex Legends from the point of view of me, someone who really enjoys PUBG and is loving Apex Legends, or someone like Kyle who has hated every battle royale and avoided them with like as much as they possibly can, and now is really into Apex Legends. Go check out Enter the Apex wherever podcasts can be found. It's going to wrap it up for this podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes.